Let's make a rainbow-inspired beach cover-up. For today's video, I thought I would focus on one of my favorite areas of physics, which is optics. And the reason I'm doing this is because if you ask the question, how do we get a rainbow? Something that I thought would be perfect for Pride Month. It all has to do with optics. So let's say that you had a prism or even a rain droplet of water, and if the light goes through it from the sun just right, that light is actually separated out into the different angles, and that is how we get each of those different colors you see on the visible spectrum, or a rainbow. So I decided that I would try to design a dress based off of this. So for the design, I did already have a mock-up done. I knew that I wanted to use this white linen that I'd received in a mystery box. So I added to my mock-up top so that it'd be a little longer and be more of a dress. And then I traced this out onto the white linen, and then I cut it out so that I would have my 3 different pieces. There's going to be one front panel and then 2 back panels on the side that then they will be connected with a button. So this is what it ended up looking like after I cut everything out. And what I'm probably going to do is to have like a seam in the back so that it's not all the way buttons. In addition, I wanted to add some pockets, so there's going to be 2 side pockets on either side of the dress, and I'm just going to take a seam down both sides of those and at the bottom, as well as a little heart-shaped pocket on one of the upper corners. I'm not entirely sure which side yet. So I just went ahead and pinned all of those together. So I pinned it with right sides together, and then I pinned the heart as well, and then took a seam around. So this is what my pockets look like. I have the 3, so now I need to turn this heart right side out, which will be very easy to do. And then I'm just going to press these all nice and flat so that they will lay well when I sew them onto the dress itself. So for the heart, I think I'm going to put it up in this upper left-hand corner. So I'm probably just going to take a seam around probably like where the heart part starts at one top and then go all the way around to the other side, and then leaving that top part open so that I can actually use it as a pocket. So now that I have that heart pocket on the front, it is time to start adding the side pockets. So the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to line up so both those back pieces as well as the front panel of my dress, so have those with right sides together, and then I'm going to pin the pocket to the fabric so that it's basically sandwiched in there right now. And then I'll take a seam on either side so that I sew up both the sides of the dress as well as the pocket itself. And then this is what my completed pocket looks like, so you can't see any of the seams and it works well with the dress. So here's what my completed dress looks like so far. So we can see it now has the pockets on either side. It also has the pocket on the front, this is the wrong side out, so it's like the inside the dress. So now it's time to basically do those shoulder seams. So I'm going to take a seam across each of the shoulders so that we'll be able to have it be more of a completed look. So with the shoulder now completed, what I'm going to do is work on the back a little bit. So there are going to be buttons on the back, but I'm going to go ahead and just take a hem around the bottom of the dress. So with that hem done, I'm now going to focus on finishing off the top and the armholes. So I took some of the rainbow fabric that I'm going to be using for the bottom as well, and I made some of my own bias tape. So I'm just going to be putting this all the way around the collar as well as the armholes of my dress. Now I have multiple videos on how you can make your own bias tape. You could also have bought this if you were interested in doing something similar, but basically you have this long, thin piece of rectangular fabric, you fold it in half, and then you fold each of those halves in half again so that you get this double fold bias tape, and then you just continue to press it and then pin it onto the dress. The cap was helping the whole time, and then this is how we'll be able to finish off those edges. Now just take a seam all the way around. So this is what the completed dress looks like so far. The bias tape looks nice at the top. Now I'm going to switch gears and focus on that detachable skirt. So I have this rainbow fabric that I had gotten from Joann's, and I'm just going to take a seam up 3 of the sides so that I can turn this right side out. Since I did have some rainbow fabric left over, I decided to add one more rainbow element, being literally a rainbow, to add at the bottom of the dress. So to do that, I just cut out a rainbow shape for both a front piece and a back piece, and then I'm just going to pin those up with right sides together and then take a seam across. So now that I have this sewn together as well as the rainbow pocket, what I'm going to do is trim both of these up. There's a lot of extra fabric on the edges, and then I'm going to turn them right side out so that it will be easier to press. So now that I have the skirt portion turned right side out, what it's time to do is figure out how to attach it to the dress. So what I'm thinking of doing is getting some elastic and kind of scrunching it up. So I have this elastic, it's pretty thin, so I'm going to actually double it to make it a little, I guess, sturdier for the skirt. And I'm going to run it through the top of the skirt. I'm going to make like a little hole for it to go in, and then I also have the rainbow that I need to attach to the dress itself. But I'm going to loop through the elastic so that it's attached. I'll sew it in and then probably add buttonholes on either side so that I can attach it to the dress and it can be detachable. For the rainbow though, first I'm going to press it out so it's nice and flat. I also went ahead and pressed out the skirt just to remove any wrinkles that were in the fabric. With the skirt now nice and flat, what I did was I pinned about 1.5 inches away from the edge of the fabric so that would be the pocket for my elastic to go into. In addition, I pinned on the rainbow to the front of the dress. I ended up doing it in the lower opposite corner of the heart. Then I will be sewing around the rainbow, so since this is not a pocket, I will sew all the way around, just outlining the border of it. Very similar to how if you were going to sew on a patch, I will be doing that for this rainbow using a sewing machine. So now my rainbow is all sewn onto the front of my dress. It looks really cute, so I'm going to move away from this and focus on the removable skirt. So for the skirt, you can see I have, I'll call it a waistband, even though it's not necessarily a waistband. That's completed, and now it is time to add the elastic. So I'm going to be using a safety pin. I've attached it to both pieces of the elastic, and I'm just going to work the elastic through this waistband and bring it all the way to the other side, and then I will take a seam on either side to sew the elastic in place. And then just as a quick reminder, the way this, I guess, skirt portion is going to go is I have my dress. You can see we're going to have the buttons down the back, which I have not done yet because I was waiting for them to come in. But for the skirt, I'm going to be attaching with buttons on either side. So it's going to go right above both those pockets I just put in, and I'm going to just have it be this like fun little accent that you can take on and off of the dress itself. So now it's time to add buttonholes on either side of the skirt. So now that I have that step complete, here's my buttonhole. I can now add the button. So I have pinned where I want the button to go on either side, and then what I'm going to do is just take a hand stitch and sew this up, as my sewing machine currently does not have a stitch to sew a button on. So now it's time to work on the back. I finally got my really fun, colorful buttons in that I was waiting for. I'm going to use 5 different colors, so very similar to the rainbow. I measured out how much of a space I wanted between each so that it would be pretty equal between each of the buttons, as it wasn't like an exact, unfortunately it would be like 4.32 inches. So I did kind of just round it at different times, and then I sewed the 5 different buttonholes onto the dress itself. So you can tell I already have 4 of these on, so now I'm just going to sew that last button at the bottom, and all of this was hand stitching for the buttons. And now here's my completed look. So you can see it has all 5 buttons in it. It's looking really good. It has that really fun rainbow effect. So let's take it to the beach. I love how it turned out. It's such a fun summer beach cover-up look. The white linen really pops, and then you can really see the little rainbow accents, especially if you don't have that detachable skirt. But then you are able to add that like little skirt if you want. You could also use this, I guess, like a little towel, and it works really well. If you like this video and want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe.